Okay, so the NRL season is now reaching the business end, the push towards the finals, and the NRLW season is now a month into its 2025 season. So let's review round 21 of the NRL season and round 4 of the NRLW season. And there are some really important results that have had implications for both the top and bottom of the NRL ladder. Now, the Roosters have narrowly lost to the Storm in the opening match of the weekend. A very end-to-end momentum swinging match. The Storm have won 34 points to 30, which means they stay in third place. They've pulled a little bit clear of the Warriors. They're still 2 points behind the Bulldogs and 4 points behind the Raiders. But Jerome Hughes has come out as an injury concern. It is a dislocated shoulder. He was taken to hospital during the game. And so that's an injury concern. That's a big blow for the Storm. Also, with the way they played against the Roosters, they never had full control of the game. And, I mean, the Roosters could have won that one. That is a result that could have gone either way. It really could have gone either way. And so the Storm were less than perfect. But look, they've scored 34 points, and you would think that would be, really good for the Storm. They've conceded 30 and now have injury concerns coming out of the game. Jerome Hughes, that's going to be a big loss potentially for the rest of the season. If it's as bad as it looked, where there were issues putting they couldn't pop his shoulder back in. If that's why he had to go to hospital. So it looked like a very innocuous challenge, but yeah, his left shoulder has dislocated, which is a concern. The Cowboys Dragons, 38 points to 32 to the Cowboys. They're trying to cling on to hopes of making the top 8. I think they've left it too little too late this season to make the top 8. I think they've left too much out there on the field week in, week out. I think they've given too much of a head start to their rivals ahead of them. They would have to basically win every remaining game of the season and hope teams above them lose more than they win. However, they've won back-to-back games. There's still an outside chance the Cowboys make the top 8. Defensively, though, I mean, look, they've scored 38 points. Fantastic. Defensively, they're still conceding at an atrocious rate. They've conceded 32 points in this victory. And while it's a close win and it's a good win, it's another win to add to their season. Their defence is just not good enough, and they've had some heavy defeats in there. They've given up too much ground to the teams in front of them. It's an outside chance for the Cowboys, but they're not officially out of the race for the top 8 yet. But I think they're leaving it far too late. The Dragons, much like the Cowboys, they've got to win every remaining game and hope teams above them lose a lot. I think these two sides are going to be outside the top 8. Shane Flanagan is one of the coaches under a lot of pressure. Todd Payton is one of the coaches under a lot of pressure. Both these coaches are facing increasing pressure because their sides have been so inconsistent this season with what was expected. They were expected to be better than what they were, and they're both currently sitting outside the top 8. The Broncos Eels, I think for me, was a very entertaining match. The Eels have won 22 points to 20. The Broncos, that is a slip up, and some of the issues that were rearing their ugly head earlier in the season have re-emerged in this game. I think the Eels deserved that win. I think they were the better side. The Broncos, their attack looked a little bit clunky and they were sloppy. And the Eels just showed some desperation, some fight. You can see the Eels are buying into Jason Ryles' coaching. You can see that there's definitely the green shoots of recovery and growth. And you can also see this team is playing for each other, where with the Broncos, you can definitely see there's still a lot of individual performances rather than a team performance. And I don't think they're all singing off the same hymn sheet. I don't think there's a lot of team unity. Even with the wins they've been having, I still think there's issues within that playing roster, and that Michael Maguire is finding out what Kevin Walters found out, what Anthony Seibold found out, and to a certain extent what Wayne Bennett found out, that there are issues with the construction of this roster and the culture within that locker room and within the club, because the run they've been on, you think they would steamroll into the top 4. They were one of the pre-season favourites. And while they've been on this lengthy winning streak, that has brought them back down to earth and has highlighted a lot of the issues that the Broncos have. Now the Titans, they've started waking up a little bit. The Titans beat the Warriors 24 points to 16 in New Zealand. to get themselves off the bottom of the ladder as well. The Titans have started to play a bit. It's been a disastrous season for the Titans. They have had a lot of injuries. They've had some they've really underperformed as a group. They are a very talented group, but again, much like the Broncos, there's some issues there that need resolving. Des Hasler's come in, hasn't resolved them, but suddenly the Titans are starting to play. Where has this been? Where has this been all season? They're not making the top 8, but I think they can at least string some performances together, get a bit of confidence going into next season. There are some players who've massively underperformed for what they're paid. The team as a whole has massively underperformed. Suddenly they get a win. And the Warriors, yes, Metcalf out for the rest of the season. The Warriors are looking a bit vulnerable in fourth, that they could slip out the top 4 with the way some teams below them in the ladder are playing. They're comfortably in the top 4 at the moment, but that won't always be the case. The gap between themselves and the chasing pack has narrowed in the last couple of weeks, and the Warriors are starting to show some vulnerabilities. Obviously, they're a much better side than what they were last season. That was a disappointing season, and they're showing the form of 2 years ago, which, But in the last couple of weeks, they've shown some warning signs that all is not well in the Warriors camp, and the bottom place Titans beaten them and beaten them well. Then we get to the Panthers Tigers. This was a demolition job by the Panthers, 36 points to 2. The Panthers have hit form at the right time. They're closing that gap on the top 4. They are closing that gap. They've really started to build some momentum at the right time of the season, and considering where they were after 5-6 weeks into the season, we're thinking they've fallen apart, the dynasty's over, they're not going to make the top 8. They've hit form at the right time. The depth players are also playing well and are in form. The combinations are starting to work. The younger players are buying into what Ivan Cleary is coaching. Ivan Cleary has coached this team fantastically to turn their season around. The Tigers, coming off the back of that good win last week. They were just hammered, absolutely hammered. And people are questioning Benji Marshall and the board and the players. But the Tigers as a club has underperformed for 2 decades. Let's not kid ourselves. This is an organisation that has consistently underperformed. And this season, while they're playing better than last season, and you can definitely see a much improved performances, this performance was dreadful. The Panthers deserved to win, potentially by more. And it's been amazing how the Panthers have turned their season around. But they got some momentum going. They built back-to-back wins, and now I think they've won 6 or 7 in a row. They're closing in on the top 4, which is scary considering where they were 2.5 months ago. Everyone thought they were dead and buried. They turned their season around, and the Panthers are now a dark horse for the Premiership that they looked likely that they were going to relinquish at the start of the season because of how they were playing. They've completely turned things around. The players have bought in. They had a bit of a wobble, and they're on form. The Sharks Bunnies. The Sharks have won 14 points to 12 in a scrappy game. Not a game to live long in the memory. There's question marks over the refereeing performance as well, which is a separate debate for a separate video on the NRL refereeing standards and whether they're up to standard. There's been a lot of complaints about officiating this season, but with this defeat, the Bunnies are now bottom of the NRL ladder, and because of their points differential as well. Now, it's a close defeat, and if that was earlier in the season, the Bunnies might win that game, but they have been struggling for some time. Injuries are plaguing the Bunnies. They really are plaguing the Bunnies. A lot of key players out missing injured, which is obviously a big concern. The Sharks, though, they've got to play a lot better if they're to go far into the finals. They've started to string some wins together again. They've hit a bit of form in regards to win-losses, but the way they're winning is not setting the world on fire, and I think the rest of the top 8 won't be overly concerned by that Sharks performance. If we're being honest, it was a very clunky performance, not overly setting the world on fire. And a lot of their performances this season have been average. They're getting wins, but they're not playing well. So there's got to be improvement from the Sharks going forward. I don't think Craig Fitzgibbon will be happy with that performance. The Bunnies, as I say, this is new territory for Wayne Bennett. He's never been in a wooden spoon position before, and I can't see how the Bunnies are going to turn this around. This is a continuation from last year, and the season before, for that matter. There's been ongoing issues with the Bunnies for some time, much like the Broncos and some other sides. There are roster issues, and there's culture issues within the dressing room. There's a reason why, the Bunnies have been on the decline for a while, and it's whether Wayne Bennett is the right guy to fix those problems, considering he was there as the previous coach before Jason Demetriou. I think there's a reason why he left the first time round to go to the Dolphins, and now it seems that it hasn't worked this time around. Just being honest. The Raiders and the Knights. I mean, the Raiders 44 points to 18 winners. The Raiders are quite scary at the moment. And no one predicted the Raiders would be this good this late into the season. They're still playing like out of their skins. Now, whether they can continue this momentum for the rest of August into beginning of September in the run up to finals, we will see. They've got to lose at some point. They have to lose at some point, but they're on a fantastic run at the moment. They're scoring points for fun, and there's a great confidence about the side. The Knights are, they're in a battle to avoid the wooden spoon at this point, and Adam O'Brien is one of those coaches under a lot of pressure because the team is underperforming, and it's just underperformance followed by underperformance by the Knights. They're not playing well, and Adam O'Brien is one of those coaches under a lot of pressure. They're joint bottom. They only escape being last by points differential of points scored and against, because their defence is significantly better than the Titans and the Bunnies, but their form is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Their form has nosedived, and they're in trouble. But the Raiders, I mean, they could get minor premiers at this point. I think they're in the pole position for the minor premiership. There's still obviously 6 weeks of the regular season to go, but at the moment the Raiders are in pole position for that minor premiership. But then the Bulldogs, 42 points to 4 against the Sea Eagles, a record win for the Bulldogs against the Sea Eagles, and that was a demolition job. The Sea Eagles, that was a horrendous performance, and Anthony Seibold is another coach where there are question marks over his position. Even though the Sea Eagles are in the top 8, are they still in the top 8 or have they slipped out? Because I know the Dolphins had the bye and they are in the top 8, but the Sea Eagles, that was just a horrendous performance. The Bulldogs just ripped them to pieces. Fantastic win by the Bulldogs, a statement win by the Bulldogs as well. And look, the Bulldogs may not be on top spot at the moment, but they haven't slipped outside the top 2 all season. So the Bulldogs, much like the Raiders, no one expected these two sides to be the top 2, but hey, the way both these sides are playing, how they respond to having a defeat, or having a poor performance or a lesser performance, they respond. And there's been question marks over the Bulldogs since Lockie Galvin joined the squad and joined the club. But I think they're starting to answer those questions, and they're working him into their systems. And a lot has got to be said of Seraldo's coaching techniques and his style of play and his game plan. They destroyed the Sea Eagles. They absolutely destroyed them. And that's a record-breaking win for the Bulldogs over the Sea Eagles. That is the biggest winning margin they've ever had. Now, Dolphins had the bye. With that bye and the Sea Eagles defeat, I think the Dolphins are now inside the top 8, and that points differential really goes in the Dolphins' favour because of their just lightning attack. So when the Dolphins come back off the bye, it'll be interesting to see if they can continue scoring at the rate they have been, because that points differential goes in their favour massively. Sides around them have much weaker points differentials. Now, the NRLW, the Warriors-Titans was the first match of the weekend. The Titans winning 20 points to 10. It's nice to see the Warriors back in the women's game, but their return hasn't been fantastic. They've only got the one win on the season so far. They've got a long way to go to get up to the same levels, I think, of the other teams in the competition. The Titans, Well, the Titans are a good side. It wasn't that they're not that far removed from a grand final appearance, and I still think that the Titans can go on a bit of a run, build some momentum. So far in this NRLW season, only two sides remain winless. Everyone has beaten everyone, pretty much. The Roosters are the only unbeaten side left in the competition, and they beat the Bulldogs 42 points to 22. So the Bulldogs are learning some harsh lessons in regards to the NRLW. They've got some experienced players there, but they are learning some harsh lessons against the established sides in back-to-back weeks. They're learning some lessons about the NRLW. I mean, yes, they've got players who've played at other clubs in the competition, and they put a very experienced roster together with some younger players, but the combinations still have to, find their feet a little bit. They've had back-to-back defeats. The Roosters, though, I mean, they're scoring points for fun, and that was a statement win. They're top of the ladder after 4. Played 4-1-4. It's very hard to look past them at the moment with the way they're playing. The Cowboys beat the Raiders 26 points to 0. The Cowboys are starting to build a bit of momentum as well. They've got a very, very good side. Not at full strength at the moment, which is the scary thing about it. There's still players out injured and yet to come back. Raiders, however, this is getting quite concerning now. And I am a Raiders fan of, both the men's and women's teams. I am a Raiders fan, but this is getting quite concerning with how poor the team is defensively and how they just don't look up to pace at all in regards to fitness and cardio and just defensive systems. They just look lethargic. They just do not look on the same fitness level as other teams in the competition. And scoring points has also proven difficult. And so to be held to 0 is very disappointing and concerning. The Cowboys, really good performance. They were better in every facet. Although the Raiders did play better in this game, they were playing better. The fact that they didn't register a point is quite concerning. The Eels lost 30 points to 6 to the Knights at home. The Knights a much weakened side than what they were previously. The Eels, I mean, they're a decent side. I mean, I would say on paper this should be a pretty balanced matchup, but no, the Knights far too strong, overpowered the Eels, and they want to bounce back after a disappointing finals campaign last year where they didn't make the grand final. They couldn't retain their premiership. So the Knights are putting a statement win as well. They're one of the favourites for the competition. And the Eels, they've had a grand final appearance. That's got to damage their confidence a little bit because they've had a decent start to the season. They've got some exciting players, but they were just outclassed in every facet of the game. The Knights turned up angry and blitzed them off the field. The Broncos, same scoreline for the Broncos over the Dragons, 30 points to 6. Broncos, a lot of people's pre-season favourites. The first half was a battle. It was an arm wrestle, and then they took control, and the Dragons' heads dropped a little bit. I mean, the Dragons have had a really decent start to the season, but their heads dropped a little bit, and the Broncos took control, and then with the depth and quality the Broncos have, they basically have the Queensland State of Origin team, which helps. With that, when they just took control of the game, the momentum went their way, even the 50-50 decisions started going their way, and it was just an avalanche after that. The Dragons just could not stem the tide and wrestle control back, and so the Broncos in the end were comfortable, which leads us to the Sharks Tigers, which was a very interesting game. Went down to the wire, 20 points to 16 to the Sharks. The Tigers had some fight in them, considering the Tigers are yet to win this season. The Tigers showed a lot of fight, took it down to the wire, pushed the Sharks all the way. The Sharks were in a controlling position, the Tigers fought back, and it was a battle right up until the final whistle. The Sharks needed that win though. They'd only had 1 win out of 3. If they'd lost that, that's 1 win out of 4, and they were grand finalists just last year. They needed that win. They honestly needed that win for their own confidence and building some momentum. Otherwise, you just start to give up too much ground to your rivals, and we've already seen the Roosters the Broncos and the Knights to a certain extent put some big statement wins down this weekend. I think, as I say, crucial that the Sharks got a win there. The Tigers, they're showing a lot of fight though. They are showing a lot of fight. I think the Tigers will pick up their fair share of wins this season. Will they make the top 6? At the moment, we are seeing a bit of separation between, I think, the 2 or 3 sides that look like they're going to be favourites to contest the grand final and the rest. And I would say the Roosters, Knights and Broncos for me are the 3 powerhouse sides in the competition. Everyone else is sort of best of the rest. However, the Broncos have shown some vulnerability as the Roosters proved last weekend. The Knights have shown some vulnerabilities as well. The Titans have started to get some wins now. The Sharks have got their second win. The Cowboys are playing pretty well. The Bulldogs have had a good start to the season and then a few indifferent results. So at the moment it's Roosters on the top, everyone else chasing, but it's been a fun season so far. There's only 2 sides that remain winless, and so it's a very interesting season. Plus it's a longer season and the final series has been expanded, so there's more chance. You've got a 1 in 2 chance of making the finals, a 50% chance, so to speak, and 6 teams make the finals. So it means there's more opportunity for a potential upset in the finals, and so to keep getting those wins early, get those wins in, is crucial. But there we go, that is a review of round 21 of the NRL season and round 4 of the NRLW season. Thank you very much for watching for over 20 minutes. Place your thoughts in the comments section below as always, and I'll have some more content for you all very, very soon.